That's fair enough. I was wondering from that, if you do think things have gotten in general better, and how better have they got? And I was wondering if you could relate that maybe to your experience as a footballer, because I suppose that is something that changed quite rapidly, especially with relation to homophobia on football. We're interviewing Josh Cavallo tomorrow, actually. And I don't know if you know Thomas Beattie, but I debated with him in the Oxford Union. And these are people who have brought a lot of change to the discussion around homosexuality in football. I was wondering what your thoughts on that were.
Yeah, well, obviously, I spent much of my career having homophobic abuse hurled at me, and in a way, the fact I'm not gay made it more difficult because I was always strong enough to stand up for myself. But to say that's really offensive, but by the way, I'm not gay, it sort of confuses the message a bit. But I had absolutely no support whatsoever. People buried their head in the sand. Other people made it worse for me. People like Gordon Taylor, who was the chairman of the PFA for many years, he made my life worse, despite years later saying he was a huge supporter of equality and he always did everything he could to defend people. I've had absolutely no experience of that whatsoever when I was playing. So in the end, to your point, Lucas, the environment's changed massively it's taken a long time. But again, it involves and requires all the stakeholders to agree to a way forward. You can't have the FA doing their thing, the Premier League or the Football League doing their thing, the PFA doing their thing, individual players having to sort of, deal with the abuse themselves. And also the media have a big part to play in this as well. So, in the sort of 90s and early 2000s, when I was going through all of that, there was very little support for people like me who were going through that. There was a lot more work, thankfully, being done. I don't mean thankfully, there's a lot more work being done in one area, but around the race, the discrimination, racial discrimination, that was starting to get really recognised and taken far more seriously. Organisations like Kick It Out and organisations such as that getting involved. And, again, you've got government involvement necessary as well. Legislation needed to be put in place to give the police and the authorities the power to be able to deal with people. So I worked really hard with the FA for many, many years around the equality work that they've done. There was a board that was set up I was involved with called the Inclusion Advisory Board, working again with all the stakeholders, Stonewall and Kick It Out and various other stakeholders that LGBTQ groups that helped us as well. And thankfully, over a long period of time, there's been a big change, a big shift in mindset. And education is often at the forefront of that. People use words often without thinking of the meaning behind them. And it's very easy for people to brush something off as a flippant comment or a put down without realizing the context. And I think that's helped enormously change the sort of language we hear. But it's always going to be a challenge because there's always going to be a group of people that want to push right to the limit and then beyond, just to test. So you've got to be consistent. Best example for me is Brighton. We did a lot of work with Brighton. They were always seen as an easy target because of the big gay community, gay and lesbian community down in Brighton. And so any fans of a team coming to Brighton would often be chant homophobic chants and such like. And Brighton worked really hard with the visiting club, their own people on the ground, stewards and such like. They went through a whole education program. They got support from the FA, promoted it. Again, it's bringing everyone together to deliver what was a really successful outcome. And they're a great example for any other football club. They're the benchmark for dealing with that sort of abuse. So I think, on the whole, I think we're, so much further down the line in terms of positive news. I think it's good sometimes to step back and see the success, because there's always going to be a problem with something. So sometimes you need to step away and actually go, look, how far have we come? So everyone involved in that should be extremely proud. But, and it's always a but, there's always going to be work to be done.